I left for 3 days to get a dog. Came home to congrats Qley in MY studio. I was only gone for 3 days, just a quick trip out of town to pick up a dog, but when I got back, the whole house felt like a party I hadn't been invited to. Balloons were everywhere, floating around like confetti in the air. A big congrats on your new studio banner was hanging up. And just like that, my room? Gone. All my stuff was crammed into trash bags. She needs this more than you, Mark said when I asked about it. Then he hit me with, don't be selfish. That night, I ended up sleeping on a folding cot out in the garage next to my dog, who had no clue our whole world had shifted. But before I dive into all that, let me say this. I've noticed the channel's been slowing down a bit lately. If you're here and you like these stories, hitting that subscribe button is the easiest way to show support. It's fast, it's free, and it really helps keep this community growing strong. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a notification. $3,800 had been charged. My emergency credit card was completely drained. I didn't fight it. Didn't say anything at all. I just walked away. 3 months later, a legal notice showed up because of what I did next. Let me back up. I'd only been gone for 3 days. Just 3. All I did was drive across state lines to pick up a rescue dog. When I came back, the house was littered with balloons. Gold and white foil ones, the kind you get cheap at the dollar store, still half floating like they just finished exhaling. The banner read, "Welcome to your new creative space." And there she was, Avery. "Mark, why is my stuff in trash bags?" I asked, trying to stay calm. The calmness in my voice was scarier than if I'd yelled. He didn't even bother looking up from his phone. Just tapped something on the screen, gave a little shrug, like I'd asked why the weather was bad. "She needs this more than you," he said again. "Don't be selfish." I stood in the doorway of what used to be my room, now transformed into something unrecognizable. My bed? Gone. Desk replaced by a cheap IKEA vanity and one of those influencer ring lights. My books had been shoved into ripped-up trash bags and dumped behind the garage like some forgotten donation pile. And me? I just stood there, dog still leashed, wagging his tail like everything was fine. Meanwhile, I was realizing the house I grew up in had silently decided I didn't belong there anymore. Then Avery popped out from her new studio like it was a surprise party. Paintbrush in one hand, iPad in the other. "Doesn't it feel bigger? Lighter," she said, like we were partners in a home renovation show. Then she hit me with, "Oh, and I used your credit card. Hope that's okay." It was saved on my laptop. My hand twitched. I pulled out my phone. Sure enough, $3,800 is something called Creative Furniture Warehouse. Again, I didn't argue. Didn't even ask why. Just walked out to the garage and unfolded Grandpa's old cot from when he used to visit. No pillow. No blanket. Just me, the dog, and the cold truth of betrayal settling into my bones like dust. That's when it hit me. I'd never really been part of that house. I was just a placeholder. A background extra in Avery's coming-of-age movie. But what they didn't know was what I was about to do next. For almost a year, I've been covering the mortgage without saying a word. No big speeches, no asking for recognition. I paid for groceries. Covered the Wi-Fi. Streaming services? All me. Even car insurance. Don't get me started. And the crazy part? I hadn't even lived at home full-time since college. But you wouldn't know it by how much I was contributing. Avery? She hadn't kept a steady job in 3 years. First, it was mental health. Then the art collective wasn't aligned with her values. Then she decided to freelance. Mark called it finding herself. Diane said it was personal growth. Me? I called it what it really was, freeloading. And still, I let it slide. Until the day of the balloons. That was the moment they stopped pretending. 3 days. I was gone for 3 lousy days. I drove across 2 states because they begged me not to adopt a dog locally. "Just wait," Mark said. "We know someone fostering near Portland. He's perfect for you." Perfect match, huh? Came home to find my bed gone, my room taken, and apparently, I had no say in how my money was spent either. The next morning, I checked my account. Cleaned out. No heads up. No warning. Avery had used the one credit card I kept strictly for emergencies, for car trouble, house repairs, actual life problems. She blew almost $4,000 on things like vision boards, storage bins, and get this, a chandelier. Yeah, a chandelier. In a room with popcorn ceilings and drawers full of glitter pens. I texted her. "You used my card." She wrote back, "It's art, not spending." Then, "Don't make this a thing." And finally, Diane said it was okay. I stared at that last message for a long time. Then I walked into the kitchen where Mark was reading the paper like it was still 1995. I asked him one question. He folded the paper slowly, didn't even blink, and said, "It's just money. She's building something real. You wouldn't understand." "You mean like a job?" I asked. "No," he said. "A platform." That word, platform, it hit me sideways. Like she was some genius tech founder in a garage, inventing the next iPhone. But all she'd been posting were dimly lit reels of her painting sad girls on mason jars. "She's working towards something," Diane called out from the sink. "You work from a laptop. It's not the same." That cut deeper than I expected. Like all the hours I spent keeping us financially afloat didn't matter just because I did it from a screen. That week, things just kept unraveling. Avery started acting like some influencer in her own home. She posted a studio reveal on Instagram, walking folks through what used to be my room. The caption? Turning childhood trauma into creative space. The comments poured in. Queen, you deserve this. Finally, someone who gets it. And my personal favorite, take up space. Well, she sure did. Mine. Then came the podcast. She started recording episodes from my old closet. Even renamed the Wi-Fi, Avery Studio Vibes. But the thing that finally broke me? It wasn't the balloons. It wasn't even the chandelier. It was the message I got from my bank. Suspicious activity detected on LINQ device. Large transfer request pending. $2,000 to Art Therapy Services LLC. I just froze. I hadn't approved that charge. I didn't even recognize the name. Turns out, it wasn't some random scam. It was one of Avery's friends' healing startups. They made custom journals for people with, and I quote, generational trauma. It wasn't a service. It was a donation request. My sister donated my savings. I didn't scream. Didn't march into her little glitter-covered studio and demand answers. Instead, I walked into the living room, picked up the shared iPad. Yeah, the one Avery forgot was still linked to my iCloud, and opened it. And I started digging. Messages. Notes. Screenshots. Then I found a shared Google Doc. Title? Phase 2. Moving Forward Without Guilt. It read like a playbook. In it, Avery had actually written. He'll come back. He always does. If he gets weird, say it's triggering to talk about money. Diane and Mark will cover for me. He's not even using the room. He has an apartment. This is about boundaries. Don't let him guilt trip you. If he threatens to cancel the card, say you're going no contact. He won't risk being the bad guy online. I didn't think it could get worse. But then I opened the voice memos. 18 seconds long. Mark's voice, caught mid-conversation. Crystal clear. He's always been like this. Possessive. Controlling. I don't know what's wrong with him. Then Avery. He doesn't even like people. I think he's one of those quiet narcissists. And in the background? My mom laughing. That one broke something in me. They weren't just spending my money and stealing my space. They were painting me as the villain in their feel-good drama. Diagnosing me. Twisting who I was into something ugly just to justify it all. So I did what anyone pushed too far would do. I downloaded everything. Voice memos. Screenshots. Payment records. Chandelier receipt. Yep, still absurd. And that Google Doc, every word. Saved it all to a flash drive. The flash drive Avery gave me last Christmas. Shaped like a paintbrush. She handed it to me with a grin and said, maybe this will inspire you. Since you never create anything. Well, guess what? It did. It inspired the truth. And I knew exactly when to reveal it. Sunday dinner. The night of Avery's art launch. She'd invited 20 people, mostly online mutuals, and a few clueless neighbors. Diane was cooking like it was Thanksgiving. Mark was playing bouncer. They thought they were throwing a party. I was planning a reckoning. That night, the whole house felt like a movie set. Fairy lights in the backyard. A fake mocktail bar on the patio with hand-labeled syrups. A Spotify playlist full of whispery women singing about healing and letting go. Avery drifted around barefoot, all glowy and smug, like a pastel priestess. She was wearing my hoodie, the one I thought I lost. She'd cut off the sleeves and called it reclaimed. Guests sipped their little drinks and complimented her bravery. One woman asked Mark what inspired Avery's journey. He smiled like the proudest man alive and said, she's been through so much. This space is her sanctuary. We're just here to support. Support. With my room. My card. My silence. They had no idea what was coming. I waited until dessert. Diane had just put out a tray of lavender cupcakes, and Avery was opening a set of handmade candles from a girl with a septum ring in an Etsy store. Then I stood up. I'd like to say something. The room went still. Avery blinked like I'd just skipped a line in her script. Now's not, she started. I held up a hand. I just want to thank you all for coming. Tonight's really special. We're here to celebrate a journey of healing, truth, and artistic transformation. I paused. And since we're all about truth, I brought some. I pulled a small Bluetooth speaker from my jacket and set it down on the table. Volume up, I said. Then I hit play. He's always been like this. Possessive. Controlling. I don't know what's wrong with him. Mark's voice poured through the speaker like poison in a chapel. Maybe he's jealous. She actually has purpose. Then Avery. He doesn't even like people. I think he's one of those quiet narcissists. And Diane's laugh in the background. Nobody moved. Not a breath. Not a sip. Then I pulled the flash drive from my pocket. Held it between my fingers like a mic drop. This is just the beginning. There's more texts, financial records, screenshots from the shared card Avery used to order $500 worth of emotional branding and room decor. I turned to Avery. And that Google Doc you made? Phase 2. Moving Forward Without Guilt. Want to guess how many people have seen it now? Avery looked like she'd glitched. Totally frozen. You're making a scene, she snapped. Oh, I haven't even started. I tapped to the next audio file. Diane's voice this time. Let him throw a tantrum. He'll get over it. He always does. Someone in the back whispered. What on earth? Mark stood up. Turn that off, he said. This is her night. No, Mark, I said calmly. This was my room. My money. My name on the card. And all of you treated me like furniture. Furniture you could toss out when the aesthetic changed. Avery stormed toward me, face red. You're trying to destroy me, she shouted. You're jealous. I turned to her, steady as stone. I'm trying to expose you. And don't worry, I already sent everything to your podcast sponsors. I'm curious how healing through honesty plays when the receipts show credit card fraud and stage trauma. She gasped. Actually gasped. Like someone had yanked the spotlight off her. Then the doorbell rang. Right on cue. I walked over, opened the front door. And there stood Logan, her ex. The one she'd slandered across 2 episodes of her show, calling him a financial manipulator and a subtle abuser. He looked calm, dead calm. And in his hand? A manila folder. I stepped aside, and he walked in like he had a scalpel in his hand, calm, precise, cold. Evening, he said. Apologies for crashing the party. Avery, I'm just here to correct the record. He held up the folder like it was a final report. This is a printout of every single transaction, every fake invoice, every made-up Venmo note you used to smear me, including the one where you told your friend you'd call me abusive if I didn't cover your rent. Avery's lips trembled. Diane tried to rush in, that fake peacemaker tone ready to go. Maybe we should talk about this as a family. Logan cut her off without flinching. I'm not your family. I'm just another person your daughter climbed over while she built her little victim empire. Then he turned to me. I got your message. Wasn't sure if it was real. It was, I said. Back to Avery. You torched my job interviews. You called my new girlfriend's office and fed them lies. You're about to find out what it feels like when the truth punches back. He handed her the folder. You're being served. The whole room just stopped breathing. Guests started shifting toward the door like someone had pulled the fire alarm. Someone near the back mumbled, I didn't sign up for this. Mark finally exploded. Get out of my house. I turned to him slow. It's not yours. The mortgage is still in my name. I checked last month. You never bothered to transfer it. Then I let the real kicker drop. All those autopay bills? I canceled them yesterday. He leaned in like he was about to make it physical. I didn't flinch. Touch me, I said, and I'll play the voicemail. The one you left after Avery drained my card. The one where you called me a financial mistake. Said I was born too early. Want the guests to hear that one too? He froze. The fight leaked out of him all at once. I walked toward the door, then looked back one last time. Oh, and the dog? He's mine. But funny thing is, I think he's the only one here who actually deserves this house. Then I looked at Avery. I left for 3 days to find something loyal, I said. Came back and found betrayal instead. And just like that, I left. Left the party. Left the past. Left the ashes. I didn't go back. Not that night. Not ever. I walked for hours. Just me and the cold air and my dog pacing beside me like he already understood. Slept on the floor of a half-furnished rental that still smelled like new paint. No pillow. No curtains. Just quiet. And peace. For the first time in years, nobody asked me for anything. I didn't post. Didn't explain. Didn't defend. I just vanished. 3 days. Not a single call. Not even from Diane. Then on the 4th day, a letter showed up. No return address. Just a handwritten note. You've made your point. We get it. But if you're going to keep this up, don't expect us to sit back and watch our family fall apart. No signature, but I recognized the handwriting. The G's always looked like 6s. Mark. Later that same day, I got an email from a lawyer. A real one. Avery had filed a complaint, emotional sabotage, theft of creative property, unlawful surveillance. There was no case. No legal teeth. That wasn't the goal. It was to rattle me. To show me they still had moves left. I forwarded it to Harris, my lawyer. Known him since college. He read it, snorted, replied with 2 words. Let them. So I did. Let them talk. Let them spin their stories. Let them rewrite everything. I stayed silent. Got a new number, only gave it to work. Changed banks. Canceled every shared account. Froze the card Avery used like it was dipped in poison. A week later, another letter. This time from Diane. You've hurt your sister more than you know. She's not eating. Not sleeping. You've broken something. I read it once. Then tore it in half. Avery hadn't broken. She landed. Like she always does. Her chaos finally fell back on her, and they just weren't ready for someone to let it fall. A few days later, I saw Mark at the grocery store. He didn't see me. Or maybe he did and just looked right through me. He stood in line alone, holding a pack of batteries and some off-brand cereal. His shirt was wrinkled. His face pale. He looked smaller, not weaker, just exposed. Like the costume finally slipped. I didn't say anything. Just watched him fumble his card at checkout and shuffle out like a man who couldn't quite believe what he'd lost. 2 days after that, Diane showed up at my door. Hair tied back. No makeup. Holding a casserole dish like it was some kind of offering. Like we could still pretend. I didn't open the door. Spoke through it. What do you want? I just want to talk. No. Please. I'm not here to fight. You're always here to fight. You just wrap it in guilt. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said softly, "She's still your sister." I laughed. Bitter. Quiet. "No, Diane. She was your project. I was your backup plan." I turned the deadbolt. She didn't knock again. 3 weeks passed. Life kept moving. I took my dog on long walks at sunrise. Drank bitter black coffee from chipped mugs. Didn't say good morning to strangers. Didn't answer calls I didn't recognize. I started remembering what silence sounded like. And then the strangest thing happened. I stopped caring. Not pretending. Not pushing it down. Just stopped. Stopped wondering what they were saying about me. Stopped checking Avery's podcast page. Stopped replaying Mark's words in my head. One day I woke up and didn't even think about them. Not until lunchtime. And even then, it wasn't rage. It was nothing. And that felt like freedom. It wasn't anger I felt. It was relief. I wasn't part of their game anymore. I wasn't sitting by the phone, waiting to be needed or blamed or dragged into their next disaster. I wasn't anything to them now. And that was freedom. 3 months. That's how long it took for the silence to stop feeling like punishment and start feeling like protection. I didn't talk to Avery. Didn't talk to my parents. They tried. Once a week, like clockwork. Mark would send some guilt-drenched email asking if I could be the bigger person. I never replied. Didn't need to. Because I'd already won. Not by getting revenge. Not by blowing up their reputations. But by walking off the stage. By erasing myself from the script they used to keep me playing the same part, over and over. No more holidays. No more group chats. No more, "We're family," when it was always a one-way street dressed up like love. Then one day, a letter showed up. Handwritten again. But this time, it was from Avery. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm in therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind I talk about online, the kind that actually hurts. You were right about a lot. I don't blame you for walking away. I would have too. I read it once. Then folded it and stuck it in a drawer I never opened. Because here's the thing. When someone spent years warping the truth, even their apologies start to sound like strategy. The next day, I went back to the old house. Not to talk. Not to make peace. Just to grab one thing they never returned, my external hard drive. It was still there. In the garage. The same garage where I'd crashed the night of Avery's studio reveal. I opened the drawer, and there it was. Dusty. Forgotten. Still plugged into an extension cord like someone had tried to dig through it and failed. I took it. Left everything else. They didn't see me. Didn't even know I was coming. And I liked it that way. That night, I sat on the apartment floor. Dog curled up beside me, head on my knee like a weighted blanket. I opened the drive. Everything was still there. Every document, every transaction, every message I'd saved. Not to expose them, just to remember. To remind myself I wasn't crazy. That it really happened. I could have done a lot with those files. Sent them to Avery's podcast sponsors. Mailed them to Mark's old employers. Printed them and taped them to the front door. But I didn't. Instead, I opened a blank Word document. Typed one line. "I am not responsible for the lies people tell about me to feel whole." Then I deleted the drive. Formatted it clean. Gone. Not because they earned mercy, but because I earned peace. The next morning, I went to the bank. Changed my emergency contact to a coworker. Not family. Updated my health insurance. Took my mom's number off the file. When I stepped outside, I passed a street vendor selling handmade keychains. One caught my eye. Simple metal tag, etched with 4 words. "Do not return to sender." I bought it. Clipped it to my keys. When I got home, I did the last thing I'd been meaning to do. Turned off my phone. Popped out the SIM card. Snapped it in half. Slid in a new one. New number. No forwarding. No goodbye. Because closure? It's not a conversation. It's a choice. And I chose this. No more explanations. No more favors. No more family that only knows how to need, never how to see. They can call it selfish. They always did. But now, there's no one left to say it to.